Hi guys, I am back with the rest of the story of 선녀와 나무꾼, fairy and woodcutter. Again, I would like to encourage you guys to learn Korean alphabets if you are interested so you can read some Koreans. Korean is one of the languages that you learn the alphabets no matter what they mean, you can still read. Right? Maybe it would be harder than reading, but definitely you can read. So I would like to encourage that. And before I move on to the stage 2, which is like the rest of the part. And there might be stage 3, but we'll see. But anyways, moving ahead with the story, I would like to correct myself from my earlier video, my first video. I was in the middle of something, and yeah, I was in the middle of telling you guys this story, and there was this alarm coming from my phone. So I was like, oh, and I got nervous. So I said like neutralized. You don't neutralize your phone, right? I made my phones and my other devices mute. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. Yeah, I know the word mute, right? So sorry about that. That was my first mistake. And well, of course, I know that I make a lot of mistakes, but like just a few things that I picked up myself. And in the middle of the story, I also said 콩쥐와 나무꾼. Sorry about that. Um, no, 콩쥐 always goes with 콩쥐 파쥐, not 나무꾼, right? I mixed up the story earlier and the story now. So 콩쥐 파쥐, and this time it's 선녀와 나무꾼, not 콩쥐와 나무꾼. No, I'm sorry, that was my number 2 mistake. And also when I was explaining about this Taoist fairy that Korea was under a lot of influence of China, I would like to clear that up too. It wasn't like we were part of, like Korea was part of China. It was we were not part of China, but we were it's like we were the servant country of the dynasty that was then China. These days we just say China, but at that time. So we were massively influenced by Chinese culture. So Taoism is a type of philosophy that was kind of was very popular in China, like the dynasty at that point. So I would just like to point that out. It's not like Korea was Korea was under China, that we followed Chinese rules or anything. No, we did not follow Chinese rules, but because we didn't have our language, and Korea was a weak country. It's a tiny, small country that was not very strong country. So we always kind of had to accept what China would demand us, and things like that. So we were just and at that time, there were so many wise people and philosophers in China too. So well, yeah. So a lot of people in Korea went to China to study and to get their goods and interesting assets. So yeah. Anyways, so thank you for listening, and I am back. So I would like to move on to stage 2 of this story. Stage 2. So from the stage 1, it was about how woodcutter met fairy tale. Do you remember? Sorry, not fairy tale. Fairy. Do you remember who was kind of like the matchmaker? Deer. I'm gonna write it down. I'm not going to draw it again. So the deer was pretty much the matchmaker. The deer was like, woodcutter, woodcutter, listen to me. There was this bunch of Taoist fairies coming down to the streams in the valley, and you should steal one of the gowns, and then the one who cannot make it back home, you can marry her. And there was one thing that I forgot to say, that the last thing that the deer told the woodcutter was, and do not give her robe back until she has 3 babies. Understood? And then I'm pretty sure the woodcutter said understood at that point, right? But then, it's like you don't just get married and boom, like, you become a couple within a day. You don't get like, boom, 3 children within a day. So of course it takes time, right? Like, it's like you, I mean, not you, but like the woodcutter took the fairy to the house, and then they stayed there for a while just to get to know each other a little more. And then they would probably like, get married or something. And then they would have like, babies, like, year after year, or like, year after a few more years, right? So, because, it doesn't like, it doesn't happen instantly. So I think the fairy was getting along with the family, with the rest of the family, woodcutter and the woodcutter's mom. So, well, I'm not sure how happy they were, but like, in the story, they were a happy, hardworking couple, and they had 2 babies. They had 2 babies, but at this point, like, not every day, but pretty much, it's like every once in a while, the fairy would cry her eyes out and, please, please tell me where my gown is. Please, please, please tell me where my gown is. Please, please, please. Because I miss my home. I mean, like, think about it. Like, she's not from the earth. She's from somewhere in heaven, in like Taoist heaven in some version. So she doesn't belong to human, right? So like, please, please, please. And then she had 2 children. Hang on. I would like to make them look at least a little chubby. I mean, yeah, I'm not having a good luck this time to draw well. But guys, it's like you get the idea. How many children did they have? 2. What did the deer say? That you should wait until how many children? 3. But the woodcutter, do you remember the time that the woodcutter was saved deer's life and stuff? You know how soft-hearted he is? So he just couldn't bear watching the wife crying her eyes out of the robe. So I am trying to draw his jjigae too. Let's see how lucky I can get. So like lots of woods here. That's not so bad. Well, looking kind of feeling guilty. Of course, like if you think about it, he's a thief. But anyways, so she's like, she pleaded, please, 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 let me have my gown back. Please, 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 pretty please. So the woodcutter thinks that like, yeah, well, now that like, it's been many years that we've been together as a couple, and now we have 2 children. So what harm would that bring to us? It's like just giving her the gown. I mean, like, no way that she would just ditch the children and like, like leave the heck out of the place. So the woodcutter's like, okay, fine. It's at the bottom of the closet. So she finds the gown. So now she puts it on while the woodcutter is out cutting the wood. Hang on, I should dry her tears too. So she wears the gown. So the gown has the wing. I told you guys, right? And now she's, yay, now I can go back home. So she just grabs her 2 children on her both hands, right? It's like, right hand, right on her right hand, 1 child, on her left hand, another child. No, sorry, hang on, the other child. And then she just went back home. So when she came, no, not she, when the husband, the woodcutter, came home, she was not there. She's like, she's gone. Da 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 da. She's gone. You lost. She won. So now he's like, what? And then I'm pretty sure he remembered the deer. So he went to look for the deer, and the deer was around, and the deer heard what he did. Oh my God, stupid woodcutter. I told you not to do it. But, hang on. But, deer says like, no, 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 this is not the end of the world. This is not the end of the world. Wipe your tears. I will tell you what happens. So, see, like, years ago, you woodcutter, you stole Taoist fairy's gown. So from that point, Taoist fairies no longer come down to earth to take a bath. What they do is see this lovely stream. See this, like, the water was really nice, and it's pretty much like, spa and stuff. So what the Taoist fairies do from their heaven is they take some water bucket down, and they get the water and they take it up to the heaven, and that's where they take a bath. So you should wait until this bucket comes down. So the bucket is called 두레박. And instead of the water, you hop in and you go up to the heaven. Then you can see your children, you can be your wife, right? So I don't really, guys, I don't, it's like I am very curious about this deer, but it's like, how do you remember how I ended the story of 콩쥐 팥쥐? What goes around, what comes around. So because the woodcutter did the good deed for saving the deer, so I think that the deer is doing the best. And on like traditional beliefs, like in Korea, we used to believe, like, I'm talking about, like, hundreds of years ago. We used to believe every piece of nature had some kind of soul, and we trust them as gods. So maybe this deer kind of like represents of the main god of the mountains. Maybe, like, maybe this deer has been looking over the woodcutter, how hardworking he was, or how poor he was, how lonely he was. So maybe, like, this deer was just trying to help him out, but I don't know, like, by helping the woodcutter out, like, I don't know if the fairy was happy, right? Getting stuck in the earth, not be able to go back home, having children. I mean, do you think she would want the children? I don't know. Anyways, so so that's what the deer told the woodcutter. So woodcutter did just that. So he snuck into the 두레박, the bucket of the water. Now, so he's in there. So the bucket goes up, and they meet. So they rejoined in heaven. So now now the fairy is wearing her gown, with her baby, right? So, and the woodcutter, and the wings, there's always wings, and the woodcutter also met the children too. Yay! You guys are here. I'm so glad to see you again, right? So, yay! They rejoined in heaven. So now they can live in heaven for the rest of their life, right? But then Do you remember when he was looking for his family who was left out in earth on earth? He starts to get worried of his old mom. Where did everybody go? Where did everybody go? So he's just getting worried about the mom, and he asks the fairy wife, honey, is there any way that I can see my mother? I really miss her and I'm really worried about her. And the fairy looks at him and she says that you cannot, I mean, like she says that you can go to see your mother, but you cannot go down. Oh, I don't know how to say this. You can go. I have a permission that you can go, but you cannot go into the house, or you cannot do anything like, like the regular humans do again. And if you do, then you cannot come back to this heaven. So he says okay, so how they did it, how she made his wish to come true was that she got a horse with wings. It's like this is like the Taoist heaven. So everything is supposed to have wings, I think. I don't know, but people who believed in Taoism, I think they also believed in wings. I don't know. I'm just being silly here. So again, I am not good at drawing animals. Guys, what am I drawing? This is a horse. Oh, it's got the horse that has interesting nose. I don't know. It looks like okay, manes. Fine, manes. Of course they have legs. They have legs, and they have wings. Woo! So the horse looks like unicorn. Is that unicorn? Unicorn. But then this doesn't have a cone. So that's not the story. So this is kind of like the horse with the wings. So you cannot get down from the horse. That's what the fairy said. So all he has to do, I mean, he stays on top of the horse. As long as he stays on top of the horse, he should be fine. He will see his beloved mother, and he will be able to come back. Right? I am trying to fix my drawing a little better. Just a little bit. I'm trying. Well, at least it looks like he's riding the horse with the wing, right? It doesn't look that bad. Okay, so this is it. So he's like, yay, I can see my parents. Well, not parents. I can see my parent, my mother. And then when she said, yeah, so remember, you cannot do, this is the one thing, that's one rule that you cannot do. Do not get down from the horse, right? And then the husband's like all excited, like, okay, fine. Okay. So now I'm going to go. So they went down to meet his beloved mother, who were getting older and being alone. So when he shouted for his mother, mom, right? From the front yard of their small house, the mom came, right? The mom came out like, oh, that sounds like my son. That sounds like my son's voice. So she came down. So I am drawing their small house. Small house with small door. And then she comes out and then she's like, oh my God. Oh my God, what happened? I was so worried about you. Right? Where did you go? What happened? And the woodcutter explained things. So what happened was blah, blah, blah. So now I am back with my family, but I cannot come down here, right? So then the mom's like, well, I want you to be happy. As long as you're happy, I am so happy for you. But, probably this would be the last time that we meet each other. I would like to make some porridge for you, like your favorite, right? So the mom brings a hot porridge. We say, from the story, they say 팥죽. Juk is kind of like Korean porridge. What is 팥? Do you remember? 콩지 팥지? That 팥? Red beans. Red beans. There you go. So it was a hot, but this is like the last time that they would see each other. So the woodcutter didn't want to upset the mom, so he grabbed the ball and he tried to eat it, but then it was too hot. He spilled it on the back of the horse with the wing, and the wing, like what horses do, right? Like when they got startled, they kind of like stand up on their back feet and they kind of like run away. So this is what happened. So the horse got so startled because of the hot porridge on the back. So the horse like shook his body, and so during all this like accident, the woodcutter fell down on the ground, and the horse with wing just flew away. So now he fell down. I'm gonna get rid of the porridge picture, and then I'm gonna get rid of him on top of the horse. The horse gets back the wings, and now the men, how do they look like when you fall from the back, like this, kind of like falling down? Yeah, so no, wait, don't go. Yeah, that's what happened. So he fell down, so his body touched the ground, so he cannot go back to heaven. I think I would like to stop here. This is kind of like stage 2. So stage 1, there was a farewell, not farewell, but like there was a goodbye. It wasn't even a goodbye, that was bye. And stage 2, this was also like misfortunate bye. So now that he gets stuck, hang on, I'm actually going through and see if I have missed anything. Okay, so this is pretty much like the well-known story of Sanyo Namukun, and later on he was so sad that he looked up the sky and he cried his eyes out. So he turned into a rooster. You know what roosters do? What do? They look up and they cockle-doodle-doo, cockle-doodle-doo, cockle-doodle-doo. You know what? Like I was born and raised in a city, so I never really knew like the roosters make that much noise. I only from the storybooks, they say roosters cockle-doodle-doo like down, it's early in the morning, right? that's not the case. They actually cry out loud pretty much every hour. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But then, like, somebody else told me, and I was like, "What is that noise?" And they're like, "Oh, that's so and so's rooster." Wow, it's not even. And they're like, "Yeah, I know. Like, that crazy bird goes like that all the time." Like, oh. But anyways, so he became a sad rooster. He cock-a-doodle-dooed pretty much for the rest of his life, I guess. So it is a sad story. So I'm gonna stop here. But there were various versions of it. So maybe I can come back with those variouses. So the stage one, the story is pretty much straightforward. So from this point, just like how, do you remember how Kongji also had kind of different endings? So this one also has like, different endings a little. So there are usually 3 of them. So I'll come back with those different endings next time. So thank you for watching this video. It's usually mostly my sister and my niece and my nephew, but I would like to say thank you for watching this, and thank you so much. So stay safe. Don't forget to wear a mask, guys. I'll come back soon to finish the story. Bye.